What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sounds Heavy podcast. I'm your host, Darrell, and with me this week, I've got Trey.
And I'm excited.
I always listen to a bunch of podcasts. I listen to a ton of them. And they're like, with me, as always, and they announce their co-host.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we know they're going to be with you. So
Yeah.
why do you say that? And
Yeah.
then here, we do our show, and I'll like listen back, and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, I always say, and with me, I've got Trey, but it's like, you're always going to be here.
Yeah, I always open up my other show with, I'm Trey, and I say it just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeremy says, and I'm Jeremy. And it's like, you know, it's just, it's kind of become a thing because the very next question I ask is, dude, how's your week been?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, it's kind of boring, but.
We do another show, a video game podcast, and I've got like all types of people on there, like from different belief systems, political systems, or all the whole nine, right? So we got a whole group, so very, mixed bag over there. So sometimes I'll just introduce them, whatever. Sometimes I'll throw some kind of weird, jokey introduction. And one day I made I was just kind of shooting from the hip, and I was like, and we got Johnson, Jim, and Joe. And it choked him up, dude. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, sometimes that's just where my head goes. So
Use one of my old nicknames. It would probably be kind of funny. It would catch me off guard if one day you opened up and I was like, and this is Ice Tray Darsh.
Oh, yeah, Darsh. So I thought about whipping out some old Isaac Stephen quotes.
There you go.
What was
That's
it?
dangerous, man. Yeah. That's dangerous.
J-roll.
Yeah.
Turn your thong around backwards.
Oh man, the things terrible. We came up with.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
As unattended youths.
Yep, that's right. All right, Trey. So this week, without any consulting you at all, I thought it'd be a really good idea to reach out into the Facebook groups, the metalcore group that we're a part of, the Christian hardcore, metalcore, all that stuff. And I was like, hey, what is everyone's like? What are the best unsigned bands out there, like with their best breakdowns? Like who's got the best breakdown for an unsigned band? And I was like, we're going to talk about it on the next show. And then I was like, I tagged you, and then I texted you. I was like, by the way.
That's how I found out about it. I wasn't upset at all.
Yeah. Well,
I was actually kind of impressed.
I was washing dishes, and I come up with my best ideas when I'm washing dishes or in the shower,
Okay.
And I was like, when I'm washing dishes in the shower, I come up with even better ideas. But I was like, man, we got it. What are the ways we can pull in the communities we're a part of?
I'm going to think twice before I ever eat at your house again. Hey Darrell, what was this plate wash with?
We call it butt water. It's when you wash it in the bath. So I was like, what are we? Because I don't want to start a Sounds Heavy podcast group. I don't want to start a Sounds Heavy YouTube.
Well, we've got a Facebook group, right? Well,
there's groups we're a part of, but so with the other shows I do, I have podcast groups associated for those,
right?
And it's like every podcast has their own group, and they have their own Discord and all this stuff, and I'm a part of so many of them. I usually pick one and just hang out there. It's like, all right. So I thought with this group, since we already have the Ninjaloot Facebook group.
Yeah, that's our personal
right,
group,
which would be, that's where Sounds Heavy would technically live.
Right.
But it's not extremely active in there. We have almost 200 people in it, but not a lot of steady posters,
Right.
And I try to post stuff in there pretty regular, but we're not getting a ton of conversation. Now, the metalcore group and the Christian hardcore metalcore, that's combined, that's 20,000 people.
Right.
And there's always good conversation going on in there. And Ninjaloot's a part of a lot of those conversations. And Sounds Heavy has become a part of some of those conversations because we've talked to some of those bands.
Yeah. And
there's people that they're in there that listen to our show. Shout out to them. So I was like, you know what? I'll just, instead of trying to create our own group, I just want to be a bigger part of the groups that already exist. So I was like, I'm going to reach out to them, find a way to get them involved. All right. So every unsigned band is in there pitching what they're doing, oh man, please check me out. I'll basically do anything to have you hear my band,
Right.
And I've been trying really hard to give that a space. I started creating playlist for that. We created the podcast, and we've used that as like part of what we do. And then we got a couple more bands lined up to come on here in the next few weeks. We've got a couple websites that we've talked to. And so I was like, what's another way to get involved? So I was like, oh, here we go. And a lot of it's always self-serving. So if you listen to the show, Trey, if you're listening to me talk, there's always a motivation behind whatever we're doing that is self-serving.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear these great breakdowns. I want to like I was in the mood. Like, I need something like nasty. Like, give me something that's gonna make me make the face.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sitting there washing dishes, listening to music. I'm like, I need like that. I need my breakdown fix. I need like something. Oof, where'd that come from? And I really like. We did the Convictions EP review, and I love how a band will take a breakdown and then fill it in with that whammy wah, that octave effect or whatever. And I was kind of like, I kind of in the mood for that. Who else does it, Because I haven't played out the Convictions record. Like, my kids are like, Daddy, can we listen to something else? So anyway, so I reached out to the group, and I said, all right, send them in. We're going to create a playlist. Excuse me. And then you and I are going to sit down and kind of debate on what we think are the best of it. So we started getting a bunch of songs sent in. So the parameters were unsigned.
Yep.
All right. Now, I would be willing to consider it if they're on like a small label. Excuse me. And like something that was not like a big touring band,
Right.
People were coming in, even though I said unsigned, and it can be your own band. People are like, for today. And I'm like, one guy was like, the entire As Blood Runs Black album.
Yeah, like, that's a great album, but
not
come on, man.
Yeah. And then there were other people who were like, here you go, check out my band.
Yeah.
Not a breakdown to be heard.
Yeah, that was really awkward. I started scrolling through the comments, and looking at some of these bands and just initially taking that listen to the songs, and there was one or two of them where I was just like, there's no breakdown in here.
Like, did you even read the post?
Yeah.
You saw an opportunity to push your band and you took it.
Yeah, which is, again, if we're talking about shameless plugs and like doing things with an ulterior motive, these guys were like, I'm going to make them listen to my band.
And it worked.
Bait and switch. And guess what? I listened, but now I'm kind of angry at you.
Yeah, now I'll never follow your band. See, there you messed up. Some of these bands that sent me like straight bangers, they are now in my playlists and my liked songs, and I follow their band.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to kind of put out there that the one band that was suggested that was going to be my takeaway winner.
Oh, and for the record, we did discuss this one just a little bit ago before we started recording, and it was actually my favorite breakdown in the whole list as well.
Yes. Conquer Divide, their Billie Eilish cover of Bad Boy.
Yep.
Those 5 chicks can play, they can sing. I don't like the song. The song is garbage.
Who's Billie Eilish?
Yeah, exactly. But their version of the song was good, and then that breakdown at the end that completely flipped things on its head, and that's what I'm looking for, And in this list, we're going to pick the first 10. So this will be round 1, and then we'll do round 2, round 3, whatever we end up with, and then maybe at the end we'll pit all of them together and see who was the best of the bunch.
So let's before we get into the list, let's just take a second to talk about breakdowns.
Yes.
Okay. Because here's something that I don't think a lot of people, even musicians, realize, okay? There's an art to writing a good breakdown. And it's actually kind of difficult to do, okay? It's not hard just to come up with a rhythm that you can use as a breakdown.
Yeah, ride the China and hit palm muted open notes.
It's not hard to play a breakdown, okay? I mean, that's kind of the whole point of a breakdown. It's something where you immediately come into a simpler space. You usually go halftime, and it's something that just allows the music to get broken up, which is why it's called a breakdown. You're breaking down the music, right? But in order to pull it off and have somebody make the face, the nasty metal face, it's difficult because you have to enter into a breakdown the right way.
Yep.
You have to catch somebody off guard with the rhythm that you're going to use.
Which means you have to set the table first.
Yeah.
It's not a breakdown if you're playing a sludgy heavy riff
from
a sludgy heavy riff, and then you just break that into halftime. Because like I'm already in that space.
Right. Well, and I distinctly remember when I started to really realize that there were bands that could take this kind of a thing to the next level. Mm-hmm. And one of the bands that I know you and I both love for this one reason, and probably this one breakdown is one of the favorites, right? Mm-hmm. One of our top 5, probably, both of us. It Dies Today, their Cative Choir album. Yep. And what's the name of this? I can't remember the name of the song.
I don't remember, but it's the one that breaks it down from a breakdown to a breakdown.
The breakdown has a breakdown. And my goodness, it was the first time you listen to that song, right? You don't expect it. No. You don't realize it's coming. And then it hits you like a truck, and you're like, oh, this is an awesome breakdown. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of the breakdown, it's another breakdown. Yep. And it's just like, oh, I can't believe they just did this. Yep. This changes the entire feel of the song. It changes the entire thought process you're going into, because all of a sudden you're like, if you're a metalhead and if you're a guy who loves breakdowns, you're taken into this euphoria all of a sudden.
It's like, I liken it to the movie Boondock Saints.
Yes.
When they're sitting around the table, they're all drinking, they're laughing, they're cutting up, and then Rocco's they finally talked him into like he's going to quit the gang, he's going to leave. He's like, that's right. It is done. I am out. And he slams his hands on the table, and then the gun goes off and kills the cat. Yeah. And then the dude looks at him, he's like, I can't believe that just effing happened. That's the space that I want to be at. Because like Rocco was building up. He was talking himself up. He's like, yeah, that's right. It is it. I am done. Boom. Yep. And then chaos. It was like, oh my gosh, the cat's dead.
Yep.
And then he was like, I can't believe it just happened. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for when I say I want to make the face. I want the surprise. And there's some good riffs and breakdown-esque riffs in some of these songs, but it's got to be like the boom.
Well, see, and the thing is, like, emotion lives in that space, right? And that's the reason that breakdowns are so powerful, is because you're taking whatever the theme of the song is, and usually the breakdown, everybody knows this is the part in the show when you throw down. This is the part where you try to kill somebody. This is the part where you just let every bit of whatever you're feeling, right? You let it out, and you just exert all of that emotion physically. And when you're listening to the music, you still have that in your mind, and it's there, and it's just, man, it's so cool just to be able to be taken out of the moment. And if you're angry, all of the anger lives in that space. If you're sad, all of the sadness lives in that space. And it's just an opportunity for you to scream at the top of your lungs, whatever it is you want to scream, whatever it is you want to emote. And not that I'm a big fan of just emoting all the time and being these, snowflakey type people that are like, oh, my feelings, but if you're a breakdown fan, this is where that lives. This is where that happens. And so there's a true art to pulling it off, right? And then here's one of the gripes I'm going to have later, right? The production has to be there for the breakdown to hit.
Yep.
Right? It has to be there, because if you're taken out of the moment by the production of the song and you can't feel the emotion, you can't feel the breakdown.
Okay, it's got to resonate.
Yeah.
The best breakdowns have a resonance to them. That's like, ooh, I can feel that.
Yeah.
There's one song in this first 10, that's like that, where it's like, oh, that could have been a good breakdown.
Yeah.
But it kind of sounds like booty.
Yeah.
So it's just like that did nothing for me.
I don't know. So one of my favorite breakdowns of all time, right? And this is probably, I can't decide some days if this is number 1 or number 2, okay? But it's a song called Dead End Roads by Through the Eyes of the Dead. That, it's a classic build-up breakdown, because there's this snare solo that comes on right before everything breaks loose. But something about those types of breakdowns where the production hits and everything hits, and it's just perfect.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's just perfection, all encapsulated in the guitar tones, in the drum tones, in the bass tones, and especially in the vocals. Because I'm not going to lie, if the vocalist misses in a breakdown, it hurts. It does
the wrong thing.
Yeah. Or does the wrong thing. Yeah. Makes the wrong decision.
Yeah. Because you are better off doing nothing than doing the wrong thing. And I use an example. I've been listening to a lot of Amir lately. And they're notorious for their breakdowns. And their breakdowns are good. And some of their songs are just essentially breakdown measures, just rinse and repeated. But there's a couple times where Frankie does just different stuff. That's like, well, this could have been a breakdown, but now it's just a riff with him rap rock screaming on it, which again I like. So like, I you didn't lose me there, but I was listening to that this week and I was like, dang, this is like he's riding to China and this dude's chunking up these riffs, but then Frankie's like not like fast rapping on it, because like some of these bands that like they'll Hunt the Dinosaur that like they'll have like
gosh, dude. Yes.
And he's like, he just like
Whitechapel.
Yes. Fast rapping on him. You know, that's awesome. Frankie wasn't doing that. He was just, you know, just being a mirror and stuff. So there's definitely times where this stuff works and doesn't work. And it's not, like you said, it's not just about playing the notes. It's about setting the table and then like picking the right choices. So I'm going to use that as a way to start into our list.
Yeah.
Because there's a band on here that like has an opportunity, but it's just not, it's not bad. Like nothing I'm about to say is bad, but it just doesn't hit. All right. So the first 10 songs, we're just going to go ahead and read them out. Chainbreaker by Return to Sender. Down with Leviathan from Blue Fire Horizon. Stacker by ENOX. Continuum by For Fear Itself. Filled by Fog from You're Not Perfect. The Void from Seiran. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
Seiran.
Seiran.
Is that
Seiran,
a weird
maybe.
way of saying Seiran?
Well, the EI is the A sound, so Seiran.
So Seiran?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Misery by Archetypes Collide. Get Up on My Level by Face Broke. I don't know. This one was in Polish, so it's Abominizia from Keymakers, and then Charm from Ian Fall.
Yeah.
That's our 10, right?
Yes.
Because I had to take one out, so that one, which I started to say that earlier. That was what was it? Collide Divide? No, it's Collapse Divide. Yeah. All chick band, Billie Eilish cover, but they were technically signed when they released that record, so therefore we had to pull them out. Even though that would have been the clear winner for like setting the stage,
absolutely,
changing the tempo, being aggressive,
they did
opening the space. Like it was
a
precision, perfect breakdown. Wasn't the heaviest breakdown.
No.
But then she just starts screaming and like.
Well, when I was listening to that song yesterday, I was just sitting there thinking, and I was like, oh, this is going to be. I was like, somebody suggested this one, and it's either not going to have a breakdown or it's going to be the surprise. It's going to be the one that takes my heart away, and it was the one that took my heart away. I was like, man, this is really cool. This is a really good breakdown. I
texted you, and I had by then we were at like 15 songs on the list or whatever, and I was like, well, let's do 10 at a time. Don't want to do too many.
Yep.
But then I text you, I said, there's one that's like the clear banger of the group. I said, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me. And like, I'm all for a chick band, you know, I'm not like crazy about it, but like I was a Kitty fan whenever the new metal phase was going around. Heavy guitars. You know.
All right, hold on. Let's redeem that just a little bit. We're both fans of Bloodline Calligraphy. We're both fans of Your Chance to Die.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the origins of it. The first ever.
OTEP, not Opeth.
Opeth. Yeah. No, they suck.
Yeah, OTEP's awesome.
OTEP. But yeah, so going back to, but not excluding any of the others.
Right.
That was a very PC way of cleaning that up. But dude, like Kitty was where it started. That was the first all chick band I'd ever seen, you know, and never heard of. So I'm down for that, but like typically I'm looking for like a dude's gutturals, you know. Now Missy from Your Chance to Die,
she could
get low.
Oh my goodness.
So again, it's not limited to just that, but for the most part, I don't tend to.
They were friends of ours, and I used to love to watch her do that, man, because it was just so.
Oh yeah.
You don't hear too many chicks do that.
No. But then when they found that other chick, Soma or whatever her name was, she was low too. I'm like, good Lord, man. This is two dual chick vocalists doing extremely low guttural stuff. I'm like, man, they were really good.
Well, I remember a while back when I was introducing my oldest daughter to some of this type of music, you know, because I've slowly tried to bring her into the metal, because like when she's riding around with me and it's just me, like that's what I listen to. I listen to metal and I listen to that kind of stuff, and so you know. She knows, and she's gotten to where she likes some of it, and I filled her iPod up with that kind of stuff, you know. And so she legitimately likes some of the screaming and some of the stuff like that. And I showed her Your Chance to Die one time, and I was like, "Is that a boy or a girl?" She goes, "It sounds like a boy." And I said, That's a lady.
Yep.
And she's a Christian, and she's awesome. And she was like, wow.
Yeah. And
I was like, maybe you could do that one day, sweetheart.
Yeah. That was such a cool pair, you know what I'm saying? Like with her husband being on the guitar or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Good people. Okay. So starting off, this is not one of my favorites, but I did want to kind of just Chainbreaker from Return to Sender. All right. Yep. Now, to be fair, I have become friendly with one of the guys in the band. We've been messaging back and forth. I've put some of their music on other playlists that I do, and we were both, so Ninjaloot's creator and Chainbreaker from Return to Sender were both featured in a Twitch stream the other night for some band. They refer to themselves as signed to a major label with really high quality producers and stuff. I didn't get their name, but the channel is called Does It Bop instead of Does It Slap.
Okay.
And essentially they just like, hey, send in music, we'll review it, we'll tell you if it bops or not. And a lot of it was that higher pitched metalcore, post-hardcore stuff where it's like a lot of pretty singing, some screaming.
Right.
It seemed to be that's where their sensibilities were at. Anytime something got too heavy, they were either bored or, in our case, they're like, it's really weird to hear Christian music get that heavy. And they're like, it's kind of weird being Christian deathcore. And then like 2 songs later was Chainbreaker. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm Christian deathcore too. And they're from South Carolina. So I was like,
okay, I didn't know that.
They're from
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we were messaging back and forth, whatever. So it was cool. So putting that out there, I like the song. I like the dudes so far from what my experience has been with them. And they've got some really heavy riffs. And there's one particular riff that could be, quote, breakdown. But it repeats in the song almost like a chorus, but I think it's more like a pre-chorus, And I was like, it just didn't stop. It didn't slow down. It didn't open the space.
Yeah.
And they do have this little like piece at the end that's like a sample. And it's really cool. And would have been really, really cool if they would have came back after the sample.
Yeah.
With a breakdown.
I was waiting on it.
It just never came. I was like, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, that one I wanted to point out is like the whole song is just heavy and it's deathcore. It's just like it's just nasty.
The feel reminded me of the very first Through the Eyes of the Dead album. I don't know why I keep on bringing them up, but
I mean maybe you like them.
The tone and the way they mixed that album reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah. They mixed and mastered it themselves too.
Yeah,
that was another thing in the stream. Well, I thought was funny was 2 Christian deathcore bands from South Carolina that record, mix, and master their own music.
Yeah.
Were both featured in the same stream.
Yeah.
And these guys were like, what is this?
We didn't know this existed.
But they did make it to the top 5. Whereas their stream went down, actually, when our videos featured. So the first half and the second half, we're not even on it.
Yeah.
But I messaged in there. I was like, hey, you said you were going to check this one out. I guess I missed it. They're like, yeah, the stream was down. We had to restart it, blah, blah, blah. We gave you a 7 out of 10. I was like, cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
The old 7 out of 10. I told my wife, I was like, well, that's the lowest response we've gotten so far.
Which you guys are average.
Yeah, you guys are okay.
Yeah.
A little better than mediocre. But my wife was like, she's like, well, 7 out of 10 is still good. And I was like, yeah. Then he gave everyone else a 7 out of 10. So I was like, that was, I guess, his standard, his baseline for I don't really care for this.
I didn't watch this stream. I didn't listen to it. Yeah. I would like to know what a 10 out of 10 is in his book.
Sent by Ravens.
I can understand that though.
And that was the thing was they had played a song from another band, and it just reminded me so much of Zach. Like everything about it was like Sent by Ravens.
Okay.
Not their second album, like their first one, riding off the EP, where they still had breakdowns in it.
Oh yeah.
So that you could tell that was what they were into.
Yeah, so. I'm not gonna lie, loved that band, loved their albums, all of them.
So yeah. All right, so we don't have a ton of time, and we're not going to go over every single song on here. So I'm gonna let you go first. You pick whether you want to do third best to all the way up to first, or first and then honorable mentions. You
all right? I tell you what I'm gonna do. Just because of the way I was thinking about it, I'm gonna let you guys know my number one breakdown out of these 10, and then I'm just gonna comment on some of the other ones.
Cool.
Okay. So my number one. And this was actually a very difficult choice for me because my number one came down between Blue Fire Horizon, Down with Leviathan, and For Fear Itself, Continuum. Okay. It was a very hard. It was a very hard decision for me to pick which one of those edged the other out. Mm-hmm. Okay. But my favorite out of our list for today was "Down with Leviathan" by Blue Fire Horizon.
Okay.
I thought that the way that they broke that song right in the middle and had that real soft, picky, kind of "Down with Leviathan," that whole thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool because when they came back, they didn't go straight into a breakdown. They kind of built it up, and then they had this nasty head breaker of a breakdown. I actually tagged him and I said, "Dude, I made the face," because I really did, and it was such a good breakdown. And that dude's vocals, I really like his low vocals a lot better than his high vocals.
Right.
His high vocals actually remind me of our original vocalist.
Yes.
Justin Toy a lot.
Toy, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
But his low vocals are nasty, and he hit it right in that breakdown. And that's my favorite one.
That's a good one.
It's well worth a listen. That band is well worth a follow. If you want to do that.
Yep, Christian band as well.
Yep. And then, like I said, for me, second place, but I'll give them an honorable mention for Fear Itself, Continuum. I thought that this song had a really cool message. It was about the heroin epidemic up in Maryland.
Yep.
And you could tell where their kind of heart was at. And the song just by itself was heavy
good
as
song.
Freak all the way
song.
Through. And it had a really hard time deciding, because they had some really cool riffs and they had a really nice breakdown there. It wasn't like, I didn't feel like they had a definitive, like, here's the breakdown for the song.
Yeah.
But the entire song was just heavy. And it was in that vein of music that I really like to listen to right now. Very bendy, very whatever. Another honorable mention, okay? This song actually didn't stand out because of any breakdowns inside of it. But it was the track. It was the track "Your Misery" by Archetypes Collide. Yep. Dude, that song
best song
got me to follow them.
Yes.
To like their
100%.
page, like their band.
Yes.
Like that song.
Good breakdown.
They're on my playlist now.
But that is the best song submitted to us.
It
start
had
to finish.
It had a lot of elements of like heavy rock music that I really, really, really enjoy. And so, good honorable mention there.
And their breakdown, what I liked about it was fast.
Yeah.
It was fast and choppy, because they had such a driving, good sounding song with a great melody and a great chorus.
Right.
And then their breakdown, instead of slowing it down, it just like the notes sped up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what a good choice. It was good. Now I had that one highlighted as like my favorite song submitted. And again, we'll do 10 at a time, but like out of the 20 plus that we got, it was 18 or whatever that's actually made it on the list so far. Yeah. Dude, that one was like the head and shoulders above the rest best song.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
It was good.
My last honorable mention, and this is the one I alluded to earlier, the track "Get Up on My Level" by Facebook.
Yes.
Listen,
I can't tell if he's using a real guitar or a processed guitar.
I couldn't tell either, and that was the problem I had with this song in general. Okay, and I want to say something just really quick before I say this, because I've been thinking the past couple of days, especially since we're kind of heading out into this this field of like reviewing.
People are asking our opinions.
And stuff like that. And I just want to say this: it takes a lot of gumption, right? A lot of courage to take something that you've written, that you care about, that you like, and put it out there for the rest of the world to hear, to decide whether or not they like it and all this kind of stuff. It takes courage to do that, okay? And that's why I respect artists. That's why I respect musicians, no matter what caliber of musician you are. If you're brave enough to, like, put your stuff out there, I have respect for you. And I genuinely applaud your efforts. I don't care what your stuff sounds like. I don't care how good or bad it is. If you've put it out there for the world to see, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? But there was so much lacking in the production of this song, right? That it took me out of the moment, because structurally, I liked the song.
Yep.
Musically, I liked the song.
It's very Browning.
Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I thought. The Browning, and I can't remember the other band I used to listen to that was like in that vein of like the DJ type stuff and the, you know, but it had some of the best moments out of this first 10 on the list. Like it had some of the best riffs, some of the best feel, but the production just took me out, bro. When the breakdowns hit, because there were numerous breakdowns, when the breakdowns hit, I didn't feel it.
Right.
Because it was just this puny sounding guitar and this puny sounding bass and this puny sounding drums. And I'm just like, dude,
which is why I couldn't tell if it was like actual instrumentation or if it was programmed. Either way, it was still cool. But that's the one I was talking about earlier. It was like, man, I was listening to it and I was like, I kind of want to message the guy and ask, hey, can I record these guitar parts with an actual guitar and bass, like to fill that space up? Like, not that I wasn't really going to, but in my head I was like, man, I would love to just, because you know, when I started getting into recording and writing and my own stuff, that's the direction I wanted to go. Yeah, a little electronic infused in with metal, right? And the Browning came out, and I was like, oh, this is kind of where my head's at. Like, I like this. Now, granted, their stuff is very the same. Like, once you're listening to it for a little while, you're like, okay, they're all like that. But like, I like that. But either way, I thought it was a cool song. It just, like you said, the production leaves, there's something left to be desired. Yeah. So my list is a little bit different than yours. Okay. With the exception of Your Misery by Archetypes Collide, which I think is the clear best song on the list. I just love it. Love it. I love it. My absolute favorite breakdown. And by the way, I'm going to take the first round, make a separate playlist. Okay. A public playlist. I'm going to attach it into the show notes. I'm going to respond into the groups. Mine would be The Void. Okay. From Seiran. Yeah. Or Seiran or Seiran. Whatever. Yeah. That breakdown is friggin' awesome. Like, I listened to, there's a couple of them I was close between, but that one was the one that I was like, ooh, yes. It just hit, and they set the table. And again, Your Misery sets the table too. They set, like, they're doing something different before they get into this really heavy breakdown piece, and that's why it stings, you know. But like, that was just a really good breakdown. Yep. The one that you mentioned from Continuum was really good. Or excuse me, For Fear Itself. Continuum was good. Yep. But the other one that I kept coming back to was Stacker from ENOX. Okay. Now that one, I'm torn. This is kind of like a love. I don't want to say love-hate, because I definitely love what they're doing. But I've got like some mixed emotions about it, because like they sent me the YouTube link. Most people sent me YouTube links, and then I had to go find their Spotify, which is fine. Right. So I watched the video, and the video is cool because it's very much like what I think of like a COVID music video. Some people are performing in their own homes in front of green screens or blue screens, whatever, and they're just editing it out, and they're layering footage from different things and effects on it. Right. And there's a lot of political messaging in there. And there's lines in the song where he talks about the butcher's house and things like that, where like essentially we're being led to the slaughter by different leaders. And what was cool was they didn't just focus on one or the other. I mean, Obama was in there, Trump was in there, Hillary Clinton was in there. And it was a very anti-political video, which but the music style was a little more in the djent, groovy feel. And I like the guy's vocals. Like, I really liked them. They were very clear and yet, like, gnarly. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were good. The song production was good. And then the breakdown at the end was just nasty. Yeah. And, like, I was riding this, like, wave of, man, I like they're doing musically. I don't know what they're trying to tell me politically, you know? And it's like, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of political music, you know, like a lot of times it's like these little metal kids picking a side based on what news feed they subscribe to or what their friends are telling them. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just not my favorite. I wish that I hadn't seen the video, that I just heard the song, because then I'm like trying to form him, like, I guess, an opinion of what he's trying to tell me.
Right.
But like, if I just take it at face value for the song and I'm coming up with my own interpretation, it's like, oh man, this is dope. Like, but breakdown wise, it was really good. I was really torn between The Void and Stacker. That's where I kept going back to. And then Filled by a Fog from You're Not Perfect has a really good breakdown in it too.
Yeah, I have to admit that song actually, the only reason that it didn't come up for me as an honorable mention, all right, is because I loved the early breakdowns. I loved the breakdowns that they reused in the song. I didn't like the very last breakdown. I didn't like the one that was just like, it sounded disjointed to me. And I'm not hating, because there's a place for that in some music, and I thought that maybe this song deserved it, but like it's just not my favorite element that bands do nowadays. You know, because it's a really sludgy, really slow, really stop start kind of a thing. You know, it is what it is. But I did like the song, and I did like the earlier riffs, you know what I'm saying, that were very much kind of breakdown-ish, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Overall, man, I was surprised at the bands on this list.
They're
because
good.
there really weren't that many of them that didn't have a lot of really good elements, you know. In fact, I can't really think of any that I just disliked, you know.
Yeah, so I will say that whoever reached out and sent in Keymakers said that the Polish one, they said, if this breakdown doesn't break you, then read the lyrics and that will, you know?
Okay.
Because in Polish, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you just challenge accepted. And I really thought the breakdown was underwhelming. Like, one of the most underwhelming on the list.
That was actually, that was probably next to Archetypes Collide. That was probably my favorite band on the
really
on the list. Yeah, I thought their production was awesome. I thought the style that they played was really, really good. I was really impressed by it. But if we're talking about breakdowns, I wasn't impressed with the breakdown.
Right, and that was my thing. Is like, it didn't do it. Now I haven't. To be fair, I didn't go read the lyrics, so there's still time to break me. Yeah, but I just hadn't had time to explore into that. But yeah, so far, out of the first list. So I picked The Void, and you have Continuum?
No, I have Down with Leviathan.
Down with Leviathan. I'm sorry. Okay. Cool. Continuum was one we both liked.
Yeah.
Cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create, obviously I'm going to make the public playlist for these on the round. And we're going to keep a running list of the ones that we think stand out above the rest. And then once we get through all the songs that are submitted, which might take us 3 rounds roughly, and then we'll kind of pit them all against each other and see who we think is just kind of the standout, or what our suggestion from the Sounds Heavy podcast would be.
Yep.
So I think this was cool, man. A good way to get, some of these unsigned bands, which some of these bands have massive followings, for them not to be independent artists. Some of them have like absolutely massive followings. So it's not like these guys all of them are hurting for listens, but I think this is a cool place to come together and, discuss this stuff. So, but I will say round 2 is way more, competitive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Round 2's got some straight up bangers on there. One of them I've been a fan of for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the difficulty in doing something like this is just, okay, so if you're a self-produced band, producing music is extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. And so you might have some awesome riffs and some awesome breakdowns, but like, if the production isn't quite there, or if it's not to someone's liking or their taste, then, for them, it takes them out of the music. And I think that's something that's difficult, because that's something that like we have difficulty with, right? Because the music that we released, like,
Sound like booty.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and now we've gotten to a place where I do think it's good. I don't think it's like the best quality by any means, but I do think it's heads and tails above what we ever put out.
Yep.
And I think it can stand in there with any of these unsigned, very well produced
nowadays,
and music and
everybody's
stuff like that.
listening to stuff on Spotify, and it cuts your quality down to begin with.
Yeah.
So nowadays, it's not even like nowadays, I have a harder time identifying who is professionally produced and who is not.
Right.
As just a listener.
Yeah.
So it's fun because I'm following a lot of these bands and I'm like, oh, that looks like they're in their little home studio.
Yeah.
That stuff sounds really good for a home studio.
Yeah.
And then you see guys posting pictures from these nice studios they're in. It's like, couldn't tell either way. So we're in a good time and a good place for any band to get out there and release the stuff. So coming up in the next few weeks, we have a few band interviews set up. We've got the Semper Service guys. We've talked to them. They're going to come on.
Yep.
We've had some suggestions from the communities about bands to talk to.
Yep.
We've got some surprises lined up from a little bit bigger bands.
Yep.
I know we had talked about when we launched the show, not trying to chase after some of these bigger guys, like to really stay and focus on the smaller, I guess, quote, underground stuff.
Yeah.
And then we've got, obviously round 2, we'll try to record next week and then get it out. So if you're listening to the show, we appreciate it. Leave us some reviews. Let us know what you think. I'm going to post this in all the threads where we were getting all our submissions, and I really hope people listen to the stuff. Check the bands out. I'll leave all of their information in the show notes.
Yep.
And then, obviously, I would think this is going to spur more submissions.
Yeah, I
hope people go,
I hope so.
Oh, okay. So, and basically the way we picked our 10 is the order they were submitted.
Yeah.
I put them on the playlist.
Right.
So we're going to listen to them as they come in, which might be more or less, maybe more or not so fair for some bands.
Yeah.
Because that next one, I mean, I'm already feeling a little bit biased about the next wave because there's a song in there that I personally love. Right. I was like, that's going to be hard to beat. Yeah. I mean, I've already listened to all of them, but like, it's that one particular one. I was like, oof, that's like a super band.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the coming weeks. I'm actually kind of digging the way we've been doing, man. Just kind of hitting all these different areas and just being a general heavy music podcast. I like it.
Oh, speaking of, I meant to. We got to say this real quick. We did have another review.
Okay.
I sent this to you, and I almost forgot to read it out on the show. So let me bring it up real fast. Anytime you guys leave us an iTunes review, we'll read it out on the show. And we got one this past week. It's from, let me click on it. It says, the app cuts it off, but it says, if you love heavy music, give this a shot. Yo, Heavy Metal Prophet here. I'm not too sure what my screen name is on this, but whatever. Just got through all the episodes, and I'm happy to say it's legit. I've been listening to metal for as long as I can remember, and it's great to hear these dudes chat about all that's heavy. Thank you, and keep up the great work. Still hope we can hook up soon and talk about BOTC and all that sounds heavy. So yes, definitely appreciate that. Thank you, Heavy Metal Prophet, for following the show and reaching out. Yes, we will get together. I do remember the email chain back and forth when we were going to talk about some stuff. And and that's why I tried to say that earlier. We have a lot of guests, a lot of people that we've talked to.
Yep.
And it's just a matter of setting the time. I'm trying to go in order, trying not to skip ahead, Yeah. But we've been talking, some bands we've had to cancel because they got COVID, I got COVID. I mean, like as far back as March, we've been trying to work things out. Treehouse Burning reached out to us in the very beginning of the show, and I haven't got them on yet.
Yeah, we weren't able to line Calibre up.
Yeah, just because which we can do now.
Okay.
We can totally do that now. I think that just doing straight Zoom calls and things like that. But I was trying to be very particular in the beginning, using the service that I was used for all my other shows.
Right.
And just because if anything happens, it backs everything up. But some of these guys, it's just not. I've learned real quick that it's not possible, and or the internet doesn't sustain that in other areas. So. But yeah, Trey, thanks for coming together. Let's doing this. And we'll see next week what we got for round 2.
Thank you guys for listening. And as always, stay metal and listen to something that sounds heavy.